Hey folks, welcome back. GameSpot returns with the 2012 live stage show here at Comic-Con 2012, brought to you by the HTC Evo 4G LTE and Sprint. I just want to mention that we are going to be doing some giveaways later on the show. We've got this Alex Ross sketchbook, which is very valuable and signed, and I'm going to just go ahead and very delicately drop it onto the floor. I promise not to diminish the value. I'll do my best. Up next, we've got Frank O'Connor from 343.
Good to see you.
Frank, thanks a lot for swinging by.
My pleasure.
So you guys have made a couple announcements thus far at the show, and you're actually going to head on over to another panel in a few hours
right after
where I
this.
imagine that you're going to make some more big announcements.
Yep.
Feel free to spill the beans right now. You don't have to wait till the panel, right?
Yeah,
this is like a mini two-man panel.
Yeah, I'm sure the five guys over there are going to be psyched that I just blurt it all out right now before the panel starts. Yeah,
exactly.
We're not doing big announcements. It's more like sort of an evolution of stuff we've talked about, but there'll be a couple of surprises in there. I think people will be pouring through screenshots and photographs later today. So.
Nice. Sounds good. So you guys have released a few more details about the Forward Unto Dawn online miniseries.
Yeah, live-action digital series. It starts October 5th. It's going to start airing weekly in the run-up to the November 6th launch of the game. And it's kind of a primer on the Halo universe. If you're not a Halo fan, if you've never played a Halo game, this is a great entry point. You'll learn a little bit about the universe, a little bit about Master Chief, and it's designed to just drop you off right at the door of Halo 4 on November 6th.
So what's the story there? I understand that some bad stuff is happening over at a UNSC military academy.
Yeah, it's a military academy. It's kind of like West Point, though. It's not a regular military academy. It's for the
would-be officers?
Absolute scions of the UNSC's military elite.
Okay.
So it's sons and daughters of generals and fleet commanders and so on. So there's this element of sort of rich, spoiled brat, and it's definitely about these lots of different types of kids learning about the insurrection, which is really what they're fighting at that time, is human rebels on distant human colony worlds, and some of their conflicts with the morality of that. But something happens in the middle of the series that changes all the things that they were previously worried about, and completely changes the tone and nature of the combat from there on out.
Now, how do those guys adapt a game like Halo with this, very stylized visuals into live-action setting? Because I know that's got to be a tricky challenge.
Well, there's two halves to it. The first part isn't tricky. It's almost the opposite. It's this huge opportunity. In video games, you can do a little bit of human emotional storytelling, but you have things like the uncanny valley and just sort of video game tropes that you're always fighting against to tell sort of compelling human stories. And there are exceptions to that. There are plenty of games that do a pretty good job on that, but they have to focus on that. We're an action game, a sandbox game, so this gave us an opportunity to tell stories about real people and actually put sort of resonant emotional themes in there. But you're right, the other challenge was making it look and feel like Halo on a pretty small budget. It's a live-action digital series. It's not a motion picture, although it will actually be edited together in a 90-plus minute version in the limited edition. It comes free with the limited edition.
Okay, so I just want to remind folks, I think I forgot to mention this at the beginning of the show, because I'm an idiot, apparently, but we are taking questions live over Twitter. So if you want to shoot a question my way, the account is @GameSpot, and just send us the questions and we can try to get those answered live on the air, courtesy of Frank O'Connor here. And before you ask about anything related to the beta, Frank has some information he would like to divulge.
There is still no beta plan. We're 7 weeks out from actually finishing the game and sending it off to be certified. So yeah, there's not much of a delta to put a beta in that period. So
that totally makes sense. So what's the vibe for you guys like coming to a show like Comic-Con? Because Halo it's something that started as a video game property, but it has morphed into this giant transmedia property. So you do see a lot more of a general pop culture fandom here.
Yeah, that's one of the we've had a presence at Comic-Con for years now for that very reason. We have novels and comic books and action figures and toys, and so we've always had a presence. It's typically been distributed around different booths. Our partners McFarlane and Jada and so on. And the last couple of years we've had a bigger and bigger presence with the games because it's becoming a much more relevant show for video games, and you'll see that on the show floor. We have Capcom and Square Enix and everyone showing off their game stuff because ultimately video games are just becoming part of this sort of continuum of entertainment for people. I always think it's funny when especially broadcast TV networks talk about video games like it's a brand new fad. Right. And I'm like, well, I've been playing video games for almost 40 years, so I don't, let's just get over that. It's part of your entertainment. It's part of something that almost every sort of adult male certainly has experience with or plays regularly. So it's the landscape's changed. Everyone is playing games now from from young to old, male, female, every demographic you can think of.
Is that something that you guys have had to be conscious of as you've worked on Halo 4, make it a more accommodating game, or do you stick to your guns and you say this is Halo?
In small ways, we'll do things with the UI to make it a little bit more approachable, but we're not going to change the nature of what this game is. It's a big sandbox action FPS with a very heavy sci-fi bent, and we don't want to change that. That's the game. So the things that we do are very light touch, just to make it a little bit more approachable. And half the time, you're making it more approachable for people who never had a 360 before, or had played other games like Call of Duty and Medal of Honor and stuff like that. So we're just trying to make it easier to on-ramp those guys, but we're not going to change the core of the game. It's very much a Halo game, absolutely.
All right. Andrew Heckathorn says, Frankie mentioned something about multiplayer. Is there multiplayer in Halo 4?
Oh, that's parody. Frankie says a lot of things, but yes, there is multiplayer in Halo 4. He must have been at the Halo anniversary celebration last year.
As if you could fathom a Halo game without multiplayer. I don't know how that could work.
That was a famously controversial question from our Halo Fest last year, so he's just repeating it for laughs.
All right, let's see. Somebody's asking for you to explain what the word dongblain means.
The truth is I couldn't tell you what the word dongblain is.
Yeah.
I know that dong is a negative pejorative in the multiplayer space where you dong on someone, which I assume means making a sound like a cymbal. I'm sure that's what it means.
Not something else entirely.
And there's also Blaine is there's a pseudo-famous multiplayer athlete, I suppose, was really good at the game, and somebody stupid combined the two items and made a character called Mike Dongblain. Nice. I don't know who it was, but whatever. Why do I know that? I don't know.
I don't know, because you're an expert in all things Halo. I'm sure you could tell us about the entire backstory of Flip Yap.
Yeah, well, somewhat, yeah. I know more about him than we ever published, so yeah.
All right, let's see. Just a reminder, if you guys want to send us questions to Frank O'Connor, feel free to tweet us to @GameSpot, and I would be more than glad to ask him some stuff. So the game is, I believe, it's playable here.
We have Spartan Ops and multiplayer. You have to. There's a pretty big line to get in, but it's worth doing. The multiplayer experience is really fun right now, and we're having a blast. And of course, the version we have back in the office is much much further ahead than the one that's here. So I think it's a good sign. People are having fun, and we're having fun, and I think it's always a good sign when you want to jump in and play your own game.
Yeah.
We live with it, and we've lived with it for it's been really playable for more than a year now, but I never get tired of just jumping in, although last night I had a pretty rough time of it, to be honest.
Well, it's hard to play and get interviewed by hundreds of people at the same time.
Well, absolutely. I can't talk and play. I can't rub my belly and pat my head at the same time either. So.
I had a question that I was just about to ask you. I completely forgot it. Actually, Andrew Waterworth is wondering what kind of changes have been implemented since the E3 build?
Really significant changes, especially I think, at least as you're watching screens and footage, you're going to see significant changes to the UI. We made changes to the control setups. Lots of people are worried about bumper jumper, which is a control scheme in the game. They don't need to worry about that. Medals have changed. The gameplay's just gotten smoother. The actual performance has gotten smoother and better. And everything is just working and being tuned. Weapon tuning and weapon balance, and a few bugs there in the E3 build, like there was sort of an invincibility bug. But these are just little snippets that we show people at trade shows. They're not supposed to be exemplary of the game itself as it ships. So there will be lots of changes for people who have played it. But I think for most people who haven't played it, have just been watching video of it, most of those changes are going to be sort of surface level changes. So.
Yeah. Now I know in my own experience covering the E3 build, the war game stuff, a lot of people were concerned about the idea of custom loadouts, these specialized abilities. In my experience, it's not so much like other games with perks and things like that. It's more just like you play Halo in a certain style, and these abilities give you the ability to take another step forward within that style. Style
and tuning are better adjectives than sort of overhauling or radically changing. It's just about tuning it to play the way you play it. And even in a normal game, I'll typically go run and find a plasma pistol that nobody cares about. about. So now loadouts just sort of shorten that process a little bit. And that's playlist dependent. There's going to be some playlists where you can absolutely use your loadouts. Obviously, if you're playing Team Snipers, loadouts are somewhat relevant, and the same goes for custom games.
Yeah.
So it is a very subtle tuning addition, but it does make a difference. It makes you feel more in control of your persona and your style of play. And it hasn't stopped me being dong-blaned 99% of the time, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Well, I know that in my own experience playing Halo multiplayer, I like to get inside the competitor's head. It's borderline griefing is what you would call it.
Yeah.
And things like Promethean vision, being able to see when a guy's coming around the corner,
Yeah.
know in anticipation when to throw that grenade.
Yeah.
So he turns a corner and he's already dead.
Yeah.
That's the type of stuff that I already do, and Promethean vision, that helps me take another step forward.
Yeah, and the funny thing about Promethean vision is, at least as far as we've shown it so far at E3 and stuff, is we've always shown it with motion tracker as well, which tells you vertically where people are too. So Promethean vision is obviously a much more clear, but ultimately redundant version of the same thing. And at first I couldn't understand why the MLG players were really using that, and then I realized, I remembered actually, is like they often play modes with the motion tracker turned off. So they weren't used to having that much sort of physical awareness of exactly where people were, so they were using it, and it was probably novel to those guys. But as we've seen, as the show goes on, people are just using it less and less and relying on motion tracker. But it is really useful for people who don't have that situational awareness, like myself, and it can definitely be a useful, at least a crutch early on. I think as people get better using it, they're going to switch to other armor abilities, and it was designed to be kind of training wheels for some people.
All right, we've got a question from Twitter. Gareth is wondering about Easter eggs. I know it's a big part of Halo. We mentioned Flip Yap a moment ago. Perhaps my favorite character in the history of Halo. Look him up.
Yeah, he loves the
Halo
nipple.
wikis. Yeah,
he loves the nipple.
He loves. I mean, he graduated from Nipple Academy. He is, we mentioned the top tier UNSC military academy. I imagine Nipple Academy is right up there as well.
There's probably somewhere on one of the Covenant homeworlds. There's a Nipple Academy with the scions of senior prophets. But there's going to be lots of Easter eggs. There's going to be audio Easter eggs. There's going to be physical objects you find. We did announce yesterday that we're going to have terminals in the game.
Okay.
And they will add significant depth to the story. They're not going to be necessary. They're for the hardcore fiction guys, and plenty of other things that we haven't talked about. There's going to be some stuff we show, not really Easter eggs, but like things I think people will get a kick out of. They're pretty funny, that we're going to show 3:15 today, so I'm excited about that. Nice.
Now, this is probably, you could have predicted this already, but plenty of questions about the battle rifle. How many shots it's going to take to kill people?
I'm the wrong person to ask. You should have talked to Kevin Franklin. I'm going, because I'm counting my experience. It's usually, I'm using 5 3-shot bursts. I'm sure that, last night I know, for example, people were not taking that many shots. It's where all 3 of those shots land, because they all can't, right?
Of course. Nice. Let's see, what else do we have here? Ray Smith asked the same question. There you go. That was Frank O'Connor's response. Let's see here. Let's see. So actually,
will there be dual welding? No, there will not be dual welding.
Will there be dual welding?
No.
What about dual welding?
You're making fun of my accent now, but no, there will be no dual wielding or welding.
I wouldn't make fun of your accent, Frank. All right, so Draven71 is wondering, other than Halo 4, what are you personally most excited about playing toward the end of the year?
So from Comic-Con, I really haven't seen much because we've been in meetings and stuff. But I think just as a gamer, I'm looking forward to a lot of stuff. Like I'm looking forward to Last of Us, obviously, but I'm actually looking forward more and more to Fable Journey. Like I didn't think it was going to be my kind of game, but the more I see about it, the more the action-packed it looks. And there's a bunch of like Xbox Live Arcade and sort of smaller games that I'm looking forward to. But I'll be perfectly honest, we're heads down, just concentrating on finishing what we're working on. So I don't know. I'm curious to see how the Wii U turns out, like everybody else. But I haven't been able to get my head above water long enough to think about the competition, certainly, and think about the stuff that I'm looking forward to playing. And the reality is, I play an awful lot of Halo, which is sad, but I genuinely enjoy it. That's why I work here. So.
Nice. Our old friend Gareth has another question for you. He's wondering about the multiplayer ranking system.
Yeah.
What's the word there?
Yeah, we're not talking about that right this second, but we're looking at ways to expose a ranking system to people so they can understand where they fit in terms of the grand scheme of things as far as their skills concerned, without making that front and center and making it a thing that people want to abuse or concentrate on at the expense of actually playing properly, which we found in previous games was a thing that kind of tarnished the actual value of that ranking in the first place. So we have to find a balance between telling people where they fit and exposing it to players who want to abuse it. And so we're working on that right now. No promises yet, but it's something we're taking very seriously, and we'll have more to say about in the future.
All right, sounds good. Let's see. Still so many questions about the battle rifle, guys.
Yeah, people love the battle rifle. And I'll be honest, I'm super glad it's back.
Yeah.
But my loadout that I use is actually DMR and battle rifle. The battle rifle has this little, it's burst fire, so I'm not terribly accurate at a lot of things. And and you should remember that your loadouts in your career actually span both normal multiplayer and Spartan Ops. So you can sometimes think about your loadouts as they're sort of a dual role, and that's what I do. I do DMR for Spartan Ops and traditional multiplayer and war games. And I use the battle rifle because in Spartan Ops I'm going to be encountering crawlers, and I'm just not accurate enough to get those things on the face with the DMR. So that little 3-shot burst lets me fan a little bit, and one of the shots is more likely to land on it. So yeah, again, it's about tuning for all sorts of things. Tuning for Spartan Ops and tuning for your multiplayer, and just having quick, easy go-to loadouts that you can remember. You can have 5 loadouts, but I think a lot of people are just going to think about maybe 2, maybe 3 as their go-tos, rather than thinking about it really, really tactically when they're picking one. So.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I kind of feel like you would have 2 or 3, and you just sort of bounce between them depending on the size of the map.
That's what I do. But there's going to be really, surgical players who are going to think really carefully about it. I also have a good time with plasma pistol and BR, plasma pistol and DMR for very traditional old school Halo experience.
All right, and what are those secondary abilities of choice for you in terms of your loadout?
I use firepower and ammo. So I carry more ammo and the ability to carry 2 rifles, which is the only way you're able to have a DMR and a BR at the same time.
Yeah.
But I think other people are gonna pick different things and think more about how much damage they're taking or how fast they're running and stuff like that. But that's really what I want. I tried Promethean Vision for a while, don't need it, which is telling because I'm a pretty bad player, if truth be told. And I like the hard light shield. It's very susceptible to grenades and being flanked, so it's not overpowered. And there's drawbacks, you're slower, and you light up like a pinball machine as well, so now everyone's... But yeah, I like tinkering with them all. It just depends on the map and the situation.
All right, excellent. Well, I believe you have a panel that you eventually need to get to.
I do,
at some
our
point
own
today.
panel. Yeah.
Yeah. So I should probably let you go so you can make some big announcement. Unless you change your mind, I mean, I can. If you want.
I got a video in my pocket.
Oh
now,
yeah, please. All right, Frank. Thanks a lot for swinging by.
Thank you.
For the folks out there who don't happen to have it ingrained in their minds, go ahead and remind them when Halo 4 is going to be out in stores.
Halo 4 comes out November 6th, which is also Election Day, so it should be easy to remember, and Forward Unto Dawn begins airing on October 5th.
So you want to actively encourage people to vote first and then go play
Well,
Halo.
it's Midnight Madness event, so most people who take it that hardcore seriously are going to have it on a midnight, and they'll have plenty of time to vote. So, but do vote.
All right, be a responsible citizen.
Vote early and vote often, as they say. So.
At least those of you who live in the United States. Anyways, Frank, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to head over to the CBS booth and see what's happening over there on the show floor.